In the shimmering expanse of the HFY star system, where twin suns bathed planets in golden light, there existed a realm known as Valeth. It was a world unlike any other. Its skies sparkled with floating crystalline cities, and its people were revered across galaxies for their wisdom, grace, and longevity. Among them stood Princess Lyra, the cherished daughter of King Zorith, whose reign had brought peace and prosperity to Valeth for centuries. Princess Lyra was beloved by all who knew her. She possessed an intellect that rivaled the brightest minds of her species, and a heart so compassionate that even the most hardened warriors softened in her presence. Her silver hair cascaded like liquid moonlight down her back, and her eyes glowed faintly with the same luminescence that lit up the night skies of Valeth. Yet, despite her many virtues, one shadow lingered over her life, a secret whispered only among the royal court. Lyra had been born with a rare condition, something unheard of in the history of her kind. While every Valeth woman carried within her the ability to conceive and nurture life, Lyra did not. The healers called it an anomaly, a quirk of biology no one could explain. For years, they studied her case, hoping to find a solution, but none came. Though Lyra bore this burden silently, the weight of it pressed heavily on her shoulders. As the heir to the throne, she felt the absence of a future lineage keenly. Would her people lose faith in her? Would the line of Zoreth end with her? Despite these inner struggles, Lyra refused to let despair define her. Instead, she threw herself into her duties as a diplomat, traveling to distant worlds to forge alliances and strengthen ties between civilizations. Her work became her solace, a way to prove her worth beyond what fate had denied her. And so it was during one such mission, to a small blue planet named Earth, that her life took an unexpected turn. Earth was a curious place, teeming with life and diversity. Its people were young compared to the ancient races of the galaxy, yet they brimmed with potential. Lyra found herself fascinated by their resilience, creativity, and boundless curiosity. During a formal gathering at a human space station orbiting Earth, she met Daniel Carter, a brilliant astrophysicist whose passion for unraveling the mysteries of the universe mirrored her own. Daniel was unlike anyone Lyra had ever encountered. He lacked the polished elegance of Valeth nobility, but his sincerity and warmth drew her in. His dark hair fell messily over his forehead, and his hands bore faint scars from countless experiments. When he spoke, his voice carried a quiet confidence that made others listen intently. To Lyra, he seemed refreshingly real, untouched by the rigid protocols of royal courts. Their first meeting occurred when Daniel presented his research on interstellar phenomena to a group of dignitaries. Lyra watched him intently, captivated by how effortlessly he explained complex concepts. Afterward, she approached him, asking thoughtful questions about his theories. Their conversation flowed naturally, unhindered by titles or expectations. By the end of the evening, both realized they had formed a connection deeper than mere intellectual exchange. Over the following weeks, Lyra and Daniel spent more time together. They shared stories of their respective worlds. She told him of Valeth's crystalline cities and eternal sunsets, while he described Earth's vast oceans and vibrant cultures. Despite their differences, they discovered a shared longing for understanding and unity. For Lyra, Daniel represented a fresh perspective, untainted by the politics of her world. For Daniel, Lyra embodied the wonder and beauty of the cosmos he had always dreamed of exploring. As their bond grew stronger, whispers began circulating among Lyra's advisors. Some questioned whether a union with a human was wise, given the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. Others argued that such a partnership could bring unprecedented harmony between species. But Lyra paid little heed to these debates. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, not as a princess burdened by duty, but as a person worthy of love and companionship. When Daniel proposed marriage, Lyra accepted without hesitation. Their decision sent ripples through the galaxy, sparking awe and intrigue alike. The idea of a human marrying into Valeth royalty was unprecedented, a bold step toward bridging two vastly different worlds. As preparations for the wedding began, Lyra allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Perhaps, she thought, this union might bring unforeseen blessings, changes neither she nor Daniel could yet imagine. The journey to Cythera, the home planet of the Vailith, was unlike anything Daniel Carter had ever experienced. As his spacecraft emerged from the shimmering portal that connected Earth's solar system to the distant star system, he gazed in awe at the twin suns casting a golden glow over the crystalline cities below. The sight took his breath away. Floating structures made of translucent materials reflected light like prisms, creating rainbows that danced across the sky. It was as if the entire planet existed within a dream. For Lyra, returning home meant stepping back into a world of responsibility and tradition. Yet this time felt different. She wasn't coming back alone. She was bringing Daniel with her, a human who would soon become part of her family and her people. Though she tried to prepare him for what lay ahead, nothing could fully ready him for the intricacies of Vailith culture. From the moment they landed, Daniel found himself navigating customs so elaborate they seemed almost alien, even by his standards. The royal palace towered above them, its spires reaching toward the heavens. Inside, every surface gleamed with an ethereal light, powered by energy sources humanity had yet to discover. Servants moved silently through corridors adorned with intricate carvings depicting the history of the Vailith race. To Daniel, it felt more like a museum than a home. But despite the grandeur, Lyra's presence kept him grounded. Her gentle smile reassured him whenever he felt overwhelmed. At first, the Vailith welcomed Daniel warmly, or at least, they appeared to. King Zoreth himself greeted the couple upon their arrival, embracing Daniel with surprising warmth. "You have brought hope to our house," the king said, his voice resonating with authority, but also kindness. "May your union strengthen the bonds between our peoples." These words earned approving nods from the courtiers gathered around them. But behind closed doors, doubts lingered. Not everyone shared the king's optimism. Some members of the royal council whispered among themselves, questioning whether a human could truly adapt to life on Cythera. They pointed out Daniel's lack of telepathic abilities, something all Vailith possessed, and his inability to manipulate energy fields, skills considered basic necessities in their society. Others argued that allowing a human into the royal family might weaken their standing among other advanced civilizations. While no one voiced these concerns openly, Daniel sensed their disapproval in subtle ways. Cold stares during formal gatherings, hushed conversations halting abruptly when he entered a room. Despite these challenges, Daniel refused to let negativity discourage him. He threw himself into learning about Vailith traditions, determined to prove himself worthy of Lyra and her people. With Lyra's guidance, he mastered simple gestures of respect, such as bowing deeply before elders and addressing others using formal titles. He even attempted to learn the complex language of the Vailith, though its melodic tones often left him tongue-tied. Each small success brought smiles to those watching, slowly chipping away at their skepticism. Lyra, meanwhile, faced her own struggles. Though outwardly confident, she couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy that had haunted her since childhood. Her inability to bear children remained a constant reminder of her perceived shortcomings. As much as she loved Daniel, she feared she might disappoint him too. Late at night, when the palace grew quiet, she would sit by the window overlooking the glowing cityscape, lost in thought. Daniel noticed her melancholy and gently encouraged her to open up. "You don't have to carry this alone," he told her one evening, placing a hand on hers. "We'll figure things out together." His words brought tears to her eyes, not because of sadness, but because of gratitude. For the first time, she realized she didn't need to shoulder everything by herself. Together, they decided to focus not on what they lacked, but on building a future filled with purpose and meaning. Their efforts led them to explore ancient archives hidden deep within the palace library. These records contain knowledge spanning millennia, chronicling the rise of the Vailith civilization and encounters with other species. One day, while poring over dusty scrolls, they stumbled upon references to rare biological phenomena linked to interspecies unions. Intrigued, they delved deeper, uncovering tales of beings born from such partnerships who possessed extraordinary abilities. Could these stories hold answers for them? As weeks turned into months, Daniel and Lyra continued to navigate the complexities of their new life together. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, fortified by shared experiences and mutual support. Though challenges loomed ahead, they faced them side by side, united by love and determination. And somewhere in the vastness of space, unseen forces began stirring, as if responding to the promise of something remarkable yet to come. Months had passed since Daniel and Lyra's marriage, and life in the royal palace settled into a rhythm that blended both earthly simplicity and Violet elegance. The couple spent their days learning from each other, sharing stories of their respective worlds, and working to bridge the gap between humanity and the Violet people. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound harmony, subtle changes were beginning to unfold, changes no one could have anticipated. It started with something small. One morning, as Lyra prepared for her daily duties, she noticed an unusual warmth spreading through her body. At first, she dismissed it as fatigue, or perhaps the lingering effects of stress. But when the sensation persisted throughout the day, growing stronger rather than fading, she became concerned. She mentioned it casually to Daniel during dinner, expecting him to reassure her it was nothing serious. Instead, his expression turned thoughtful. "Do you think it could be related to us?" he asked hesitantly, his voice soft but curious. "I mean, we're not exactly a typical pairing." Lyra tilted her head, considering his words. It was true. Their union was unprecedented, a fusion of two vastly different species. Could their connection somehow be affecting her biology? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, not out of fear, but wonder. For so long, she had believed herself incapable of change, locked into the limitations imposed by her condition. What if Daniel's presence had awakened something dormant within her? The next day, they approached the royal healers together, seeking answers. The healers, accustomed to treating ailments unique to the Violet, listened intently as Lyra described her symptoms. They conducted a series of tests, scanning her energy fields and analyzing cellular activity. To everyone's surprise, the results revealed fluctuations in her physiology, subtle yet significant shifts that defied explanation. Her normally stable energy patterns were evolving, adapting in ways never before documented. "This is extraordinary," murmured Elder Kalen, the head healer, his glowing eyes wide with astonishment. "Your cells are undergoing rapid transformation. It's almost as though your body is rewriting itself." Lyra exchanged a glance with Daniel, unsure whether to feel relieved or alarmed. "What does it mean?" she asked, her voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling inside her. Kalen hesitated before responding. "We don't know yet. This phenomenon is unlike anything we've encountered. It may be linked to your bond with Daniel, or perhaps even his genetic material interacting with yours. But whatever the cause, it demands further study." News of Lyra's condition spread quickly through the palace, sparking a mix of excitement and concern among the royal court. Some saw it as a miracle, proof that love could transcend boundaries and rewrite the rules of nature. Others viewed it with suspicion, questioning whether such changes might carry unforeseen consequences. Whispers filled the halls, speculating about what this transformation could mean for the future of the royal line, and for Violet society as a whole. As the days went on, Lyra's symptoms grew more pronounced. She experienced moments of heightened sensitivity, perceiving emotions and energies around her with startling clarity. Color seemed brighter, sounds sharper, and even the faintest touch carried a depth of feeling she had never known before. While these sensations fascinated her, they also left her physically drained. Daniel stayed by her side constantly, offering support and encouragement whenever she needed it. One evening, as they sat together under the twin sun's fading light, Lyra confided her deepest fears. What if this isn't a blessing? She whispered, her voice trembling slightly. What if I'm not strong enough to handle whatever's happening to me? Daniel reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. You're stronger than you realize, he said firmly. Whatever comes our way, we'll face it together. Remember, you're not just doing this for yourself. You're paving the way for something bigger than either of us. His words brought a flicker of hope to her heart. Determined to find answers, she and Daniel sought guidance beyond the palace walls. They traveled to the ancient city of Luminara, home to the Archive of Stars, a repository of knowledge older than the Violet civilization itself. Legend spoke of texts hidden within its chambers that explored the mysteries of interspecies unions, tales of beings born from such partnerships who possessed abilities far beyond those of their parents. Within the archive's labyrinthine halls, they discovered scrolls written in languages long forgotten. With the help of scholars fluent in Archic dialects, they deciphered passages describing hybrids whose very existence challenged the boundaries of science and magic. These individuals were said to embody the strengths of both their parent species, serving as bridges between worlds. One passage stood out in particular. When two souls unite across the stars, their bond shall give rise to a new dawn. A child of unity, bearing gifts unseen since the creation of time. Though cryptic, the words resonated deeply with Lyra and Daniel. Could this ancient prophecy apply to them? Was it possible that their love had sparked something greater than themselves, a legacy that would transcend generations? As they returned to the palace, armed with newfound knowledge, Lyra felt a shift within her, not just physically, but emotionally. For so long, she had seen her inability to bear children as a flaw, a barrier keeping her from fulfilling her destiny. Now, for the first time, she dared to imagine a different path, one where her journey wasn't defined by limitations, but by infinite possibilities. Yet, even as hope blossomed, questions lingered. What kind of being would emerge from their union? How would the Valeth people react to a child unlike any they had ever known? And most importantly, how would Lyra and Daniel navigate the challenges ahead as partners, parents, and pioneers? Unbeknownst to them, the universe was watching closely, waiting to see what wonders this extraordinary union would bring forth. Somewhere in the vastness of space, stars shimmered brighter, as if heralding the arrival of something truly remarkable. The whispers that had once lingered in the shadows of the royal court now erupted into open debate. Lyra's transformation, and the implications it carried, had ignited a firestorm of opinions across Cythera. Some hailed her evolving condition as a divine sign, proof that the union between human and Valeth could usher in an era of unprecedented harmony. Others, however, saw it as a threat to their way of life, a disruption of the natural order they had long cherished. Daniel found himself at the center of this storm. Though he had initially been welcomed with cautious optimism, the growing divide among the Valeth people forced him to confront harsh truths. Many viewed his presence not as a bridge between worlds, but as a catalyst for instability. Traditionalists argued that allowing a human into the royal family was tantamount to inviting chaos into their carefully balanced society. Even some moderates began questioning whether Daniel truly understood, or respected, the complexities of Valeth culture. For Lyra, these tensions weighed heavily on her heart. She had always believed in the power of unity, yet now she faced accusations of jeopardizing her people's future. The changes within her body continued unabated, each day bringing new sensations and challenges. At times, she felt invigorated by the energy coursing through her veins. Other moments left her physically exhausted, struggling to keep up with her duties. Despite her struggles, she refused to retreat from public view. If anything, she resolved to stand firmer, determined to show her people that she remained committed to their well-being. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the crystalline city in hues of lavender and gold, Lyra and Daniel sat together in a quiet chamber overlooking the palace gardens. They spoke little, finding solace in each other's company after another grueling day. But the silence was broken when a servant arrived, bearing urgent news. Protests had erupted outside the palace gates. "They're calling for answers," the servant said nervously. "Some are demanding assurances about the stability of your condition. Others question whether you should remain queen." Lyra's jaw tightened, but she nodded calmly. "Thank you. I'll address them myself." "What? No," Daniel exclaimed, rising to his feet. "You can't go out there. It's too dangerous." "I must," Lyra replied, her voice firm despite the worry flickering in her eyes. "Fear thrives in silence. If I don't speak directly to my people, the doubts will only grow." Though reluctant, Daniel knew better than to argue. Instead, he vowed to stay by her side, ready to support her in whatever way he could. The scene outside the palace was chaotic. Crowds had gathered, their voices echoing off the shimmering walls. Some held banners praising Lyra as a beacon of hope. Others waved signs condemning her marriage as reckless and unnatural. As Lyra stepped onto the balcony overlooking the square, accompanied by Daniel, the noise reached a fever pitch. For a moment, it seemed as though the crowd might overwhelm them with sheer force of emotion. But then Lyra raised her hand, and the murmurs began to subside. Her luminous eyes scanned the sea of faces below, taking in both allies and adversaries. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a quiet strength that silenced even the most fervent protesters. "My people," she began, "I understand your fears. Change is never easy, especially when it challenges what we hold dear. But let me remind you of who we are. We are the Vailith, a race defined not by fear, but by courage. Not by division, but by unity." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "Yes, I am different. My bond with Daniel has brought changes none of us could have foreseen. But does difference mean danger? Or does it offer opportunity? Together, we have the chance to create something extraordinary, not just for ourselves, but for all beings in this galaxy." Her speech stirred mixed reactions. Some cheered, inspired by her vision of a brighter future. Others remained skeptical, unwilling to trust so easily. Yet, amid the cacophony, one thing became clear. Lyra's courage had struck a chord. Even those who opposed her couldn't deny the sincerity in her voice or the determination in her stance. Behind the scenes, however, darker forces were at work. A faction of extremists, emboldened by the unrest, began plotting to eliminate what they saw as a threat to Vailith purity. Their leader, Lord Vaynar, a high-ranking noble known for his staunch traditionalism, believed drastic measures were necessary to restore balance. He orchestrated a plan to discredit Lyra and Daniel, framing their union as a reckless experiment that endangered the entire species. It wasn't until weeks later, during a formal ceremony celebrating intergalactic diplomacy, that their scheme came to fruition. As Lyra stood on stage addressing delegates from across the galaxy, a sudden explosion rocked the hall. Chaos erupted as smoke filled the air, and panicked screams echoed through the chamber. Guards rushed to secure the area, but not before Lyra collapsed, clutching her side. Daniel acted instinctively, pulling her to safety behind a fallen pillar. His training as a scientist kicked in as he assessed her injuries, using makeshift tools to stem the bleeding. Around them, confusion reigned, but Daniel's focus remained solely on Lyra. "Stay with me," he urged, his voice trembling with urgency. "You're stronger than this." When medical teams finally arrived, they stabilized Lyra and transported her to the palace infirmary. News of the attack spread rapidly, sparking outrage across Exothera and beyond. Many condemned the violence, rallying around Lyra and Daniel as symbols of resilience. For the first time, the majority of the Vailith people united in support of their princess, recognizing the attack for what it was, an assault not just on her, but on the ideals of progress and unity she represented. As Lyra recovered in isolation, guarded closely by loyalists, she experienced vivid dreams unlike any she'd ever known. In these visions, she encountered a radiant figure, an unborn presence glowing with warmth and light. It spoke without words, communicating through feelings of love and purpose, These dreams gave her strength, reminding her why she had chosen this path in the first place. Meanwhile, Daniel worked tirelessly alongside scientists and healers, combining Earth's medical knowledge with Valith technology to ensure Lyra's full recovery. Together, they uncovered evidence suggesting that the changes within her were accelerating, not deteriorating. This revelation offered a glimmer of hope amidst the turmoil, hinting at possibilities greater than anyone had imagined. Though the road ahead remained uncertain, one truth emerged undeniable. Lyra and Daniel's bond had become more than just a personal connection. It was a testament to the power of love to transcend boundaries, challenge prejudices, and inspire change, even in the face of adversity. And somewhere deep within Lyra, a spark continued to grow, promising wonders yet unseen. The assassination attempt on Princess Lyra sent shockwaves through Cythera, shaking the foundations of a society that prided itself on peace and order. For days, the crystalline cities buzzed with tension as investigations unfolded, revealing the involvement of extremist factions led by Lord Vanar. His arrest was swift, but his ideology lingered like a shadow, casting doubt over whether violence could erupt again. Yet, amidst the chaos, something remarkable began to emerge, a shift in the hearts of the Valith people. Lyra's recovery became a symbol of resilience, not just for her species, but for all who watched from afar. Images of her lying in the infirmary, surrounded by both human and Valith healers working side by side, circulated across galaxies. These images spoke louder than words, showcasing unity in action. As news spread of Daniel's unwavering dedication during the attack, how he risked everything to save her, the skepticism once directed at him began to fade. Even those who had doubted their union couldn't deny the strength of their bond or its potential to inspire change. For Lyra, the weeks spent recovering were transformative. Her body continued to adapt in ways no one fully understood, and her vivid dreams grew more frequent. In these visions, she encountered the same radiant figure, an unborn presence glowing with warmth and light. It communicated without words, filling her mind with feelings of purpose and reassurance. Though she couldn't explain it, Lyra came to believe this presence was tied to the changes within her, perhaps even a glimpse of what the future held. Daniel, too, found himself changed by the ordeal. Watching Lyra fight for her life had awakened something deep within him, a fierce determination to protect not only her, but also the ideals they represented. He threw himself into understanding her condition, collaborating closely with scientists and healers to unravel the mysteries of her transformation. Together, they discovered that her cellular activity was accelerating at an unprecedented rate, hinting at possibilities far beyond anything recorded in Valith history. One evening, as Lyra rested in her chambers, Daniel entered carrying a datapad filled with new findings. "We've been looking at this all wrong," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. "It's not just about your biology adapting. It's about creating something entirely new." "What do you mean?" Lyra asked, sitting up slowly. He explained how the fusion of their genetic material appeared to be triggering responses never before seen, not just in Valith physiology, but potentially in interspecies dynamics as a whole. "It's like you're becoming a bridge between our worlds, and whatever comes next might redefine what's possible." Though overwhelmed by the implications, Lyra felt a spark of hope ignite within her. For so long, she had carried the weight of her perceived inadequacy, believing herself incapable of fulfilling her role as heir to the throne. Now, for the first time, she dared to imagine a different path, one where her journey wasn't defined by limitations, but by infinite possibilities. As her health improved, Lyra returned to public life with renewed resolve. She addressed her people once more, this time speaking directly to the fears and hopes that divided them. Standing on the balcony of the palace, illuminated by the twin suns, she delivered a speech that would echo through generations. "My beloved people," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion, "we stand at a crossroads. Fear has clouded our vision, tempting us to cling to what is familiar rather than embrace what is unknown. But let me remind you, We are Valeth. We are explorers, dreamers, pioneers. Our strength lies not in resisting change, but in shaping it. She paused, letting her words settle over the crowd below. Then, placing a hand over her abdomen, she added softly, "Whatever the future holds, I promise you this. I will face it with courage, guided by love and unity. Together, we can build a legacy that honors who we are and who we can become." Her words resonated deeply, stirring emotions long buried beneath layers of tradition and fear. Many wept openly, moved by her vulnerability and conviction. Even skeptics found themselves swayed by her sincerity, recognizing that her journey mirrored their own struggles with uncertainty and growth. In the weeks that followed, support for Lyra and Daniel surged. Delegations from across the galaxy arrived in Cythera, eager to witness the unfolding miracle firsthand. Scientists, philosophers, and spiritual leaders gathered to study the phenomenon, each offering insights that enriched the collective understanding of what was happening. The royal couple welcomed these visitors with open arms, viewing their presence as an opportunity to foster greater cooperation among civilizations. Yet, despite the growing optimism, challenges remained. Extremist ideologies persisted, sowing seeds of dissent among pockets of the population. Security measures tightened around the palace, ensuring Lyra's safety as she prepared for the next chapter of her life. Meanwhile, Daniel grappled with doubts of his own. Was he truly worthy of being part of something so monumental? Could he live up to the expectations placed upon him? These questions plagued him until one night, when Lyra found him pacing anxiously in their chambers. "You're afraid," she said gently, approaching him. "Afraid of failing. Afraid of not being enough." He nodded, unable to meet her gaze. "What if I mess this up? What if I'm not strong enough?" Lyra took his hands in hers, her touch grounding him. "Strength isn't about having all the answers," she replied. "It's about showing up, even when you're scared. You've already proven yourself stronger than you realize." Her words brought tears to his eyes, reminding him of why he had embarked on this journey in the first place. Together, they vowed to face whatever lay ahead, not as individuals, but as partners united by love and purpose. As the months passed, Lyra's condition stabilized, though the changes within her continued to evolve. Her energy fields expanded, radiating a soft glow visible even to the naked eye. Some interpreted this as a sign of divine favor. Others saw it as evidence of the extraordinary being taking shape within her. Whatever the truth, there was no denying that something miraculous was underway. And so, as Cythera prepared for the arrival of a child unlike any the universe had ever known, hope began to take root. It wasn't just hope for Lyra and Daniel, or even for the Valeth people. It was hope for all beings, everywhere. A reminder that even in the vastness of space, the smallest spark could ignite a brighter tomorrow. The day arrived with an air of anticipation that seemed to ripple across the galaxy. Cythera's twin suns blazed brighter than usual, casting their golden light over the crystalline cities as if in celebration. The royal palace buzzed with activity, healers and scientists from countless worlds gathering to witness what many believed would be a momentous event, not just for the Valeth people, but for all of existence. Lyra, now several months into her pregnancy, radiated an ethereal glow, her presence both serene and powerful. For weeks, the scientific community had been monitoring her condition closely, documenting every nuance of the biological phenomenon unfolding within her. Her energy fields pulsed with intensity, intertwining human and Valeth traits in ways no one could have predicted. Tests revealed that the child growing inside her exhibited signs of extraordinary abilities tied not only to physical prowess, but also to dimensions beyond mortal comprehension. Some theorized that Solon, as the unborn child was already named, might possess the capacity to perceive realities invisible to others, bridging gaps between time, space, and consciousness. As the delivery approached, excitement mingled with apprehension. Though the preparations were meticulous, there remained an element of uncertainty. No one knew exactly how this interspecies birth would unfold or what challenges it might present. Daniel stayed by Lyra's side throughout, his calm demeanor masking the storm of emotions swirling within him. He marveled at her strength, watching as she navigated each contraction with quiet determination. Despite the pain, Lyra never wavered, drawing on reserves of courage she didn't know she possessed. The birthing chamber itself was a marvel of technology and tradition. Crystalline walls shimmered softly, amplifying the natural light while advanced medical equipment hummed quietly nearby. A team of healers and scientists worked seamlessly together, blending Earth's medical expertise with Vailith healing techniques. As the final moments drew near, the room filled with an otherworldly silence, a collective holding of breath as everyone waited for the miracle about to unfold. When Solon finally entered the world, the chamber erupted in radiant light. It wasn't merely the soft luminescence associated with Vailith births. This was something far greater, a brilliance so intense it momentarily blinded those present. Gasps echoed through the room as the light coalesced around the newborn, forming a protective cocoon that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Within moments, the glow subsided, revealing a tiny figure cradled in Lyra's arms. Solon's appearance defied description. Their skin shimmered faintly, reminiscent of starlight reflecting off water, while their eyes glowed with an inner fire that hinted at untapped potential. Even before they opened their mouth to cry, a sound that resonated like music, their mere presence commanded awe. Those who witnessed the birth felt an overwhelming sense of connection, as though Solon carried within them fragments of every soul gathered in the room. News of the miraculous birth spread rapidly, carried by interstellar transmissions and whispers among cosmic travelers. Delegations from distant planets flocked to Cythera, eager to catch a glimpse of the child whose arrival had sparked hope across galaxies. For the first time in history, beings from vastly different species set aside their differences, united by curiosity and reverence. Solon became more than just a symbol of unity. They represented the dawn of a new era, where diversity was celebrated rather than feared. In the days that followed, Lyra and Daniel found themselves inundated with visitors, each bringing gifts and blessings for the newborn. Some offered artifacts imbued with ancient wisdom. Others shared stories of prophecies fulfilled. Yet, amidst the celebrations, Lyra and Daniel remained grounded, focusing on the profound responsibility entrusted to them. They understood that raising Solon wouldn't be easy. It would require patience, understanding, and unwavering commitment. Early tests confirmed what many had suspected. Solon possessed abilities unlike anything ever recorded. Their mind operated on multiple planes of existence, capable of perceiving truths hidden from ordinary senses. Scientists marveled at how Solon responded to stimuli, showing awareness of events occurring light years away. Philosophers speculated about the implications of such gifts, wondering whether Solon might one day serve as a mediator between civilizations or even unlock secrets of the universe itself. Despite these revelations, Lyra and Daniel prioritized nurturing their child's humanity, or whatever equivalent existed within them. They introduced Solon to simple joys: the warmth of sunlight streaming through windows, the melody of lullabies sung in both Vailith and human languages, and the comfort of being held close. These small acts reinforced the idea that power, no matter how vast, should always be tempered with love and compassion. As Solon grew, their influence extended beyond the confines of the palace. Stories of their unique nature inspired art, literature, and scientific breakthroughs across galaxies. Entire cultures began reevaluating long-held beliefs, embracing change instead of fearing it. Leaders who once resisted cooperation now sought alliances, recognizing that unity offered solutions to problems that had plagued their worlds for centuries. Yet, for all the wonder surrounding Solon, Lyra, and Daniel never lost sight of what truly mattered: family. Each milestone, their first smile, their tentative steps toward independence, was cherished deeply. Through it all, they reminded themselves why they had embarked on this journey in the first place. not for fame or legacy, but for love. And so, as Solon continued to grow, their presence served as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the vastness of space, the smallest spark could ignite a brighter tomorrow. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Lyra and Daniel faced them together, united by the knowledge that their bond had given rise to something extraordinary. Years passed, and Solon grew into a child who defied every expectation. Their presence was magnetic, drawing people from across the galaxy to witness the wonder they embodied. Yet it wasn't just their extraordinary abilities that captivated others. It was the way they carried themselves with an innate grace and curiosity, as though the universe itself whispered secrets only they could hear. For Lyra and Daniel, raising Solon became both a joy and a profound responsibility, one they approached with unwavering dedication. Solon's development unfolded like the blooming of a star, slowly at first, then with breathtaking brilliance. By the age of 5, they had already demonstrated feats that left even seasoned scientists speechless. They could manipulate energy fields with effortless precision, creating shimmering patterns in the air that danced like living art. At times, they seemed to vanish momentarily, reappearing elsewhere in the room, hinting at an understanding of space and time far beyond mortal comprehension. But what truly set Solon apart was their ability to sense emotions, not just those of individuals but entire crowds. When tensions flared during diplomatic gatherings, Solon's calming presence often diffused conflicts before they escalated. Despite these awe-inspiring gifts, Lyra and Daniel ensured that Solon remained grounded. They taught them the importance of kindness, empathy, and humility, instilling values that transcended species and cultures. "Your abilities are a gift," Lyra would say, brushing Solon's glowing hair gently, "but how you use them defines who you are." Daniel echoed this sentiment, reminding Solon that true strength lay not in power but in connection. Together, they nurtured a child who understood that greatness wasn't measured by what one could do, but by how one made others feel. As word of Solon spread, so did their influence. Leaders from distant planets sought their counsel, hoping to learn from their unique perspective on unity and harmony. Entire civilizations began reevaluating their priorities, shifting focus from competition to collaboration. Artisans crafted sculptures inspired by Solon's radiant aura, while poets penned verses celebrating their role as a bridge between worlds. Even skeptics found themselves swayed by the tangible changes sweeping through the galaxy, changes sparked by a single life. Yet, challenges persisted. Extremist factions, though diminished since Lord Vaynar's arrest, still lingered, sowing seeds of fear among those resistant to change. Some viewed Solon as a threat, believing their existence challenged the natural order of things. Assassination attempts were thwarted thanks to heightened security, but the underlying tensions reminded everyone that progress rarely came without struggle. To combat these fears, Lyra and Daniel worked tirelessly to foster understanding. They established the Intergalactic Accord, a coalition dedicated to promoting cooperation and mutual respect among species. Under its banner, delegates from countless worlds gathered regularly to address shared challenges, from resource scarcity to environmental crisis. Solon played a central role in these efforts, serving as a living testament to the possibilities of unity. Though still young, their wisdom often surprised even seasoned diplomats. One such gathering took place on Cythera, where representatives from Earth, Valeth, and dozens of other civilizations convened to celebrate the Accord's 5th anniversary. The event culminated in a ceremony held beneath the twin suns, where Solon addressed the crowd, a moment etched forever in galactic history. "Every star begins as a spark," Solon said, their voice carrying a resonance that touched every heart. "A tiny flicker in the vastness of space. But when stars come together, they form constellations, patterns of light that guide travelers home." The audience erupted in applause, moved not just by Solon's words but by the truth they conveyed. In that moment, it became clear that Solon's legacy would extend far beyond their lifetime. They weren't merely a symbol of hope. They were a catalyst for transformation, inspiring beings across galaxies to dream bigger and reach further than ever before. For Lyra and Daniel, watching Solon shine filled them with pride and gratitude. They thought back to the early days of their union, the doubts, the struggles, the moments of uncertainty, and marveled at how far they had come. What had once seemed impossible now stood as proof that love could transcend boundaries, rewriting destinies in ways no one could have imagined. King Zorith, now retired and content to watch his daughter lead, often reflected on the journey that had brought them here. "You've given our people something greater than stability," he told Lyra one evening. "You've given them purpose." And indeed, purpose radiated from every corner of Cythera. Cities hummed with innovation, driven by collaborations between human and alien minds. Schools embraced inclusivity, teaching children about the beauty of diversity. Even the crystalline spires of the palace seemed to glow brighter, as if infused with the same hope that filled the hearts of all who lived there. As Solon continued to grow, their potential expanded alongside them. Scientists speculated about the future roles they might play, perhaps as an ambassador bridging worlds, or as a visionary unraveling the mysteries of the cosmos. Whatever path they chose, one thing was certain: their impact would endure long after they were gone. In the quiet moments, when the day's duties ended and the palace settled into stillness, Lyra and Daniel would sit together under the stars, marveling at the journey they had undertaken. They knew their story wasn't just theirs alone. It belonged to everyone who dared to believe in the power of unity. It was a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the universe, a single act of love could ignite a light bright enough to guide generations. And so, as the twin suns rose over Cythera each morning, casting their golden glow across the land, the legacy of Lyra, Daniel, and Solon shone brightly, a beacon of hope written in light, guiding the galaxy toward a brighter tomorrow.